Hello, welcome to our presentation for this year's DSA conference. My name is Onallia. I conducted this research with Professor Valentina Mazzucato and Dr. Caroline Haxman. We work at Maastricht University in the Netherlands. This work is part of an ERC-funded project titled MOTRIL, which stands for Mobility Trajectories of Young Lives, Life Chances of Transnational Youth in the Global South and North. MOTRIL project is multidisciplinary, primarily mixing literature from international migration and youth development. The presentation emerges from the MOTRIL project focusing on the Global South. Hence the title, Overcoming Interruptions in Educational Trajectories, Youth in Ghana with International Migrant Parents. This slide gives you an idea of what to expect in this presentation. It is essential to understand the processes informing development outcomes such as performance, educational performance, and attainment. For about 2 decades now, there has been investigations concerning the education of children of migrants living in origin countries, mainly in the Global South. These young people are often called left behind children or youth. However, we prefer to call these people stayer youth, thereby avoiding the negative connotations associated with the term left behind. Available research shows that parental migration from the Global South to the Global North influences educational attainment or outcomes of stayer youth in various ways. On the one hand, migrant parent remittances can improve stayer youth educational performance by providing access to better schools and academic supplies. On the other hand, stayer youth can perform poorly in school because their caregivers lack the competences to help them with schoolwork. They may be immersed in their migration aspirations, which affect their educational performance, or they seem poorly attached to migrant parents, which affect learning during transnational parent-child separation. Existing literature about these stayer youth focuses on educational outcomes at specific moments in time. Yet, specific educational outcomes result from processes that take place over time. By looking into stayer youth pathways through educational systems, it is possible to reconstruct the hurdles these youth face and how they try to overcome them. Some general education literature have observed that frequent changes in schools, or what is termed school instability, put youth at risk of dropping out. School instability is costly for all students, especially for youth with migration backgrounds or economically disadvantaged backgrounds. It is precisely at these times that parental support is known to be critical. Without the physical presence of migrant parents, how do stayer youth overcome interruptions in their educational trajectories? Before entering the field, the Montreal project conceptualized educational trajectories as young people or youth moving between schools across space and time. So, for studying stayer youth, we enter the field to know what motivates such moves while their parents are international migrants and how they navigate such experiences during parental migration. This slide indicates that we relied on two main bodies of literature: stayer youth educational literature and the education literature about young people with migration backgrounds in the global north. Why? Because the existing stayer youth literature focuses on migrant parents and caregivers' contributions to stayer youth education. By relying on the other body of literature, we observe that it is crucial to consider all social actors who support young people to remain in school when they encounter different hurdles. Ghana is the case study, and Ghana is one of the countries in the global south where about a quarter of young people in secondary school live without one or both parents due to international migration. Additionally, a study has recently found that half of some Ghanaian youth attending secondary school in large urban centers in southern Ghana change caregivers throughout parental migration. Such caregiving changes were associated with lower psychological well-being and school changes. Primary secondary education in Ghana typically consists of 12 or 13 years of schooling. Youth mostly spend 6 years in primary school, 3 years of junior high school, and 3 years of senior high school. Major schooling transitions occur in grade 6, where young people enter junior high school, mostly around the ages of 12 years, and at grade 9, they enter senior high school from junior high school, roughly, when they are mostly at the age of 15 years. Some schools in Ghana offer primary and junior high education within the same facility, and a few schools are able to offer senior high school in addition to the others within the same facility. Therefore, it is expected or assumed that students ordinarily attend 2, 1, or 3 schools for primary secondary education within Ghana. So we employed ethnography to collect data within 15 months. 38 stayer youth were interested in our project and availed themselves for a number of engagements on the field sites. The longitudinal nature of our data collection enabled us to use several tools and methods. Returning from the field site, we triangulated the data about each case to enrich our understanding about how stayer youth experience schooling during parental migration in general. While not all 38 young people in our sample experienced schooling interruptions, we focused on the extreme cases of 11 young people who changed school frequently by attending 4 or more schools throughout their primary secondary educational trajectories. These 11 cases provide a magnifying lens through which to study how stayer youth overcome educational hurdles during parental migration, including activating their local social network for support. We observed 3 main causes of these interruptions: financial struggles, changing residents frequently for shelter and care, and lacking moral support from migrant parents and caregivers. To remain in school despite the challenges that we identified, the young people relied on a broad social network for missing needs. The yellow area shows the different relatives who played different roles for the young people to remain in school. Teachers and friends have not received much academic attention regarding stayer youth education as our research unfolds. Generally, caregivers are an important source of financial and emotional support when they can. What we add to this body of literature is how youth or stayer youth agentically seek support from their caregivers, but try not to overwhelm them with their requests, recognizing the caregiver's own difficulties. When stay youth are in need of one educational thing or the other, and their migrant parents or caregivers cannot provide, they consult extended relatives to seek for such support. The general education literature shows that siblings play an essential role in each other's educational trajectories. In the case of stayer youth, we found that those lacking the needed support to smoothly go through the Ghana education system tend to siblings who are mostly the older ones raised in the Ghana education system to take advantage of the good understanding of these experienced people for their education. Teachers are an important source of motivation, inspiration, and advice for young people in school. For stayer youth studied by this project, we found that those who are struggling academically and lack someone to assist them from their family context, some school teachers approach them and offer to help, and these young people show their agency by how they accept and make use of this so that they can continue to be in school, whilst other young people actively approach teachers and seek for their support so that they can catch up with their peers. This study shows how friends can also be important for young people to remain in school. When stayer youth lack academic support and they think a friend or a group of friends can help them, they approach them, seek their support, and make good use of it so that they can remain in school. Stayer youth who were struggling to study on their own befriended classmates who were excelling, so they help them overcome their learning difficulties. Other young people relied on motivation from friends within their neighborhoods and community, including churches, so that they can continue to remain interested in schooling. Migrant parents and caregivers did not include stayer youth in deciding about changing schools. Changing schools were primarily decided upon by migrant parents and caregivers, although it affected these young people because they mostly lost established contacts like friends in their previous schools. As one young woman indicated, she felt unhappy about frequently changing schools because she lost her friends in her previous schools. Stayer youth also found emotional support in friends with whom they could talk about the limited involvement of their migrant parents in their education. Even young people who only shared their worries reluctantly ended up talking to friends. For example, a young woman named OJ hardly talked about the difficulties she experienced because she had been separated from her migrant father before her birth and did not receive schooling support during this period. She felt that it was better to keep this as a secret to herself instead of sharing it with her friends or schoolmates. But at some point, OJ could not hold this anymore because it was affecting her performance. At the beginning of this presentation, we established that the effect of parental migration on educational outcomes of stayer youth is an established field, but less attention has been given to the processes leading to such observational outcomes. This study extends this knowledge existing about stayer youth education by showing how these young people play an active role in activating local social network support for their education. However, such stayer youth agency goes unnoticed when researchers mainly focus on how migrant parents and caregivers shape the educational experiences of stayer youth. With our eucentric approach and ethnography, we show how insufficient transnational family care exposes stayer youth to experience interrupted educational trajectories. By focusing on the at-risk youth in our 38 sample size, we unpack the young people's agency through social network support so that they remain in school instead of becoming dropouts, as most probably. With our findings, we argue that it is important or good to go beyond the triad of migrant parents, caregivers, and stayers to focus on all network support that contribute to the well-being of stayers in origin countries. This slide is the list of citations for this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. You can read more about the Montreal project through our website or by following our Twitter handle